Thank you for joining me. We're gonna start straight away by hitting the road on our way to the farmers market. It's advisable to go early so that you can get the freshest produce there is, and also some items that tend to run out fast, like strawberries, gooseberries, which are only available before 9 a.m. You'll get them, okay? So if you're targeting them, be there early. And plus, they do close between 12 and 12:30, so make your way there early. If it's your first time, it's good to take a look around, see what different vendors have to offer, plus their pricing. In this way, you'll end up making very well-informed decisions because you'll know what the average pricing is. You'll also get to know what is on offer so that you don't end up buying, like, so many mangoes from one vendor, and then when you start walking around, you find, oh, wow, they had maybe passion fruits or some very juicy apples, and you start wishing that you had bought less of the mangoes. Again, this is very important. Something else to remember is carry enough small reusable bags for carrying the different produce. Different vendors will have the small uhuru bags, as we call them, but they won't be enough to carry all your produce in one go. Another thing is, please make sure that you carry cash that is in small denominations. This reduces the hassle of having to search for change. It also helps in your budgeting. If you plan on spending, like, let's say 3,000 for example, don't carry any more than 3,000 shillings. This will make sure that you stay within your budget. If you're in Kenya, of course, you could always pay via M-Pesa, but the transaction fees are going to finish you. It's not worth it. Another thing is, ask them to cut off any excess that you know for certain you will not need in order to reduce on your luggage. For instance, from this vendor, I had her cut off the stock for the Swiss chard, or spinach as we call them in Kenya. And then remember what I said about not carrying excessive baggage? I also had the coconut vendor grate the coconut for me, because carrying the entire coconut, it's too much. It doesn't make sense. It's also good to interact with the vendors as much as possible to better understand the produce on offer.
Sasa kwa hizi hazionyeshi sana, lakini kuna kwanga na unaona kama aina ile unaipata hapa pako white hapo mahali hapa kwa white hii ni different
the pattern hata ni different
hata hii tunaziita Marikiti, yani zina pandwa hii sehemu inaitwa wapi, na kuna hapo kuna mahali wanaita ni Marikiti.
This watermelon vendor, he was very ready to tell us how to identify the ripe watermelons, where they come from, the different types of watermelons. Try as much as possible to become a regular. In this way, you'll be able to get a better shopping experience. You'll definitely get better deals. The other thing I would advise you is to just be adventurous, try new things. For example, I started eating turnips, parsnips, Brussels sprouts just from visiting WAKULIMA market. So how do you know that coconuts are ready? There is a certain hollow sound that they make when you knock on them. And also there are value-added additions like kukukunia nazi, which translated means grating for you the coconut. You also get to drink the coconut water, which is so refreshing given that the market was so hot on this day. I tend to buy my tomatoes in two parts, one that is very ripe and the other one that is not so ripe. This is because as the ones that are not too ripe are ripening, I'm able to enjoy ripe tomatoes that are usually very, very sweet. Try as much as possible to become a regular. In this way, you'll be able to get a better shopping experience. If you're doing a major shopping, then you'll always have a place where you can store your small bags until you're done, instead of walking around with this huge luggage that, you know, will keep getting heavier and heavier with each purchase that you make. $10 plus 35.
Like with 245.
Okay. So I'm back from the market and it was hot. It was hot. It was blistering hot. I also must appreciate cooking with Nemo's kitchen. Yeah, she is the one who graciously agreed to accompany me to the market. She was the camera lady, so please head on over to her channel, show her some love for all the amazing work she did. Subscribe to her channel. She also does amazing cooking content. Now back to why we're here in Jikonimagic's kitchen. So I want to show you all the amazing content that I bought. It was just a beautiful day to shop. Produce was in plenty. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I will share with you the exact cost of what it is that I bought. So if you want to know the exact total of what I spent at the market, stay tuned until the end of the video, because I'm going to give you the grand total. So if this is the content that you like watching or like coming back to, please hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and yeah, show me some love. And it's also going to encourage me to keep producing similar content for you. The potatoes are stored in the shelves at the corner of my kitchen together with the onions, ginger, and garlic. I usually cook the matoke within a day or two for maximum flavor, because once they start ripening, they won't taste quite as good. So cook them as quickly as you can. I usually separate my tomatoes. The very ripe ones go into the fridge, while the not so ripe remain outside. I store the oranges on the countertop. I don't put them in the fridge because they're usually one of the first fruits to be eaten and, you know, finished. However, if I have so many of them, what happens is I will throw them into the fridge so that they can last longer. Again, for these ones, I will wash and dry them thoroughly. Watermelons retain their flavor better if left on the countertop, but once you do cut into them, you have to store them in the fridge while uncovered. The other remaining portion should be stored with the cut part covered with cling wrap. Cut watermelon keeps fresh in the fridge for up to 4 days, and please bear in mind that once you freeze watermelons, they don't thaw that well. They tend to become soft and mushy. They'll only be good for smoothies. So if you know you want them crispy, please do not freeze them. Tomatoes, I ensure that I wash them first, dry them thoroughly, and then store them in the fridge. Do not put unnecessarily damp things in the fridge. fridge, try and wipe everything as much as you can. Same goes for the bell peppers or hohos. I wash, dry them thoroughly, and then store them in the fridge. I usually buy the smaller sized ones because in this way I'm able to use a full one in one cooking session. I try as much as possible not to have the 2/2 or the 2/4 hanging around in my fridge. Next, the courgettes. I just straight up wrap them in the aluminum foil and then put them in the fridge. This way they can keep up to a month. Just make sure that you have wrapped them tightly. Remember to label everything that you wrap because you'll not be able to remember each and every package that you put in the fridge. As for the dania, I wrap them in kitchen paper. I do not wash or wet them because I find that this tends to make them soggy. Try and wrap them in single layers as you're seeing me doing here. This separation keeps them fresher longer. And also ensure that I check on the kitchen paper occasionally because it does tend to get damp. I change it when the need arises. When I store my dania like this, well, it tends to keep up to 2 weeks. I don't wash the spring onions. All I do is peel off the outer layer, then that's usually full of soil and other dirty particles, and I wipe off any visible dirt after peeling off the outer layer. I then separate the green leafy part from the white one. I also go ahead and cut off the visibly wilted topmost parts of the green leafy bits. I then proceed to wrap in kitchen paper. In all this, moisture is the enemy of these leafy produces. If you decide to wash them first, please make sure that you dry them thoroughly, otherwise they become moldy. I wrap the white part separately. It tends to last longer than the leafy part. The white part lasts for about a month, while the leafy part lasts for like a week, maybe a week and a half at most, after which it will begin to turn yellowish. As for the celery, I store it in aluminum foil, tightly wrapped, and it will keep for up to a month, and I make sure that I cut off the leafy part first. I store the lettuce in aluminum foil as well, and I don't wash it. I'll wash it on the day that I'm using it. I start by cutting off the roots of the leeks and then the leafy parts as well. I cut them off and then I peel the outer layer that's usually dirty. Then I wipe off any visible dirt, wrap the leeks tightly in aluminum foil and then store in the fridge. I store the spinach in brown paper. I don't wash them and I make sure that I use them within a week. The coconut goes straight into the freezer as it is. I shell the peas, wash them, and then freeze them raw. As for these leaves, for the leeks and celery, I won't be throwing them away. I'll use them in my vegetable stock. Finally, I put the scallions or spring onions in an airtight container, dania in a Ziploc bag, and throw all these into the fridge. As for the carrots, I wash them thoroughly, cover the container, and keep in the fridge. They can keep for up to a month in the fridge when stored like this. Just make sure that you change your water every few days to prevent the growth of mold. Now on to the pineapples. I wash them thoroughly, peel, cut into small pieces and store in a tightly covered container. For some reason, I started doubting the sweetness of this particular pineapple that I'm chopping right now because it looked too white, but I was pleasantly surprised. It was sweeter than it looked. It could have been better, but it wasn't too bad either. So this one that is not peeled goes into my fridge and it will ripen slowly while in there, and I will have it after a week. And now that everything has been put aside, here is the grand total of what I spent. Thank you so much for going with me to the market and putting away the produce with me. And until next time, please be safe, keep healthy, and bye bye.